Is it working now? Is it working? It is. Yoo-hoo! Okay, let's see if we can share it somewhere. Mhm. We cannot share it on Instagram, but okay. All right, let's start. All right. Okay, everything is set. Everything is great. Hello, everyone. My name is Julia, and this is my second stream here on YouTube. Last week, in part one, we talked about the book called Climates of Love, The Climates of Love by André Maurois, and some of his essays. Today, we are going to continue with this book. It's going to be part two. And also, I will read some of the other essays that he has written. Let me remind you about the novel. Before that, I would love to check if you can hear me well. I hope you can. Before that, I would love to check if you can hear me well. Yeah, you can. Okay, perfect. Wonderful. All right. So, The Climates of Love is a novel from 1928, and it captures the psychological dynamics of relationships in such a real and subtle way. I was recommended to read this book by my grandma, and when I started reading it, I couldn't put it down. And then I realized that I want to discuss this book one day in one of my streams. And that's how I started streaming on YouTube. So, why do I think this book might be useful for you? Because even if it's 100 years old, it still describes a lot of manipulations, emotional dependency, and patterns in relationships that are still relevant today in our life. And some of the phrases and behaviors in this book are incredibly familiar and were incredibly familiar to me too. These are the things that we experience in our life, and I have experienced this in my past relationships too. So, if you've ever been in a toxic relationship or you've ever seen some similar patterns in your relationships with other people, please let me know in the chat or down in the comments if you are not watching this stream online and you'll be watching it later. So I'm studying currently life coaching, and I'm diving deep into these kind of topics of codependency, toxic relationships, and attachment styles. I really want to help people to reconnect with themselves and leave a toxic relationship, and if they already left toxic relationship, to help them recover. Good morning from west of Ireland. Good morning. Welcome to the stream. So, so if you hear in the chat, please say hi. And where are you from? Yeah, from some people are from Ireland. Amazing. I think we are having similar weather to Ireland today. It's raining and it's cold and it's windy. Ooh, terrible weather here in Canary Islands. That's why I'm streaming. Anyways, if you ever need someone to talk to and need some support, you're always free to reach out and message me. And I'm not officially practicing as a life coach yet, but I'm always open to genuine communication. By the way, if you want to discover more and to explore the topic of attachment styles and complicated relationship more, you can always check part one, where I talk about manipulations, my first stream that took like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and you can always read about attachment styles. Oh, I mean, watch the video about attachment styles. It's a review book called Attached, and I will leave the link down below. And yes, if you can also support the channel by sending some tips on Buy Me a Coffee or on PayPal, because Buy Me a Coffee takes some percentage and PayPal doesn't. So you will see the link in the description. All right, a quick reminder of what this book is about. It tells a story of a man called Philip and his two completely different marriages. In part one, we talked about his first wife called Adélia. She had a manipulative behavior and his unhealthy emotional attachment to her. In this part, in the second part, we will dive deep into his relationship with his second wife, Isabelle. And she was the complete opposite of Adélia. The second part of the book is actually told from her point of view, from Isabel's point of view, as she reflects on her marriage with Philip. And now I will read a memory from Isabel, Philip's second wife. But before that, let me take a sip of my tea. All right. From Isabel's perspective, that's what she was writing to him, to Philip. I put on a white, very simple dress to look like a Valkyrie myself. Philip complimented it, and that meant a lot because no matter how hard I tried, he rarely liked what I wore. He usually looked at my clothes with criticism, saying nothing. But that day I noticed he was looking at me with pleasure. The forest seemed beautiful to me, just as he had described it. Between the huge moss-covered rocks ran a winding little path. Philip took my arm several times to help me climb the stones, and held me with both hands when I had to jump down. We rested lying on the grass, and I leaned my head on his shoulder. The pine trees stood in a circle around us, forming a dark well that rose into the sky. And at the top, a tiny square of sky was set like a gem. So, what does this passage show us? It reveals much between the lines. The first one, trying to please someone who's emotionally unavailable. Isabel goes out of her way to become someone else, someone Philip would find desirable. She even dresses like Valkyria. A Valkyria is a mythological warrior woman, strong and powerful, possibly trying to imitate Adelia's fiery spirit. She said, he rarely liked what I wore. He looked critically at almost everything without saying anything. This shows emotional distance, lack of warmth, and silent judgment, which is a form of subtle control. I had something similar in my past relationships, and I was trying to please my ex-partners and the people around me. But this was before. Now I try not to please anyone. If I feel like I'm going deeper into pleasing some people, I catch myself on it and I'm like, you should stop that. I remember I tried to always clean his apartment, my ex's apartment. I wasn't even asked to do this. And yeah, there were a lot of things that I shouldn't supposed be doing, but I did it just because I wanted to show him that I was a good wife, I was a good girlfriend. I remember that he told me that his mom cleans and cooks and works, and she does so many things in life and raises another child like his brother, and trying to tell me that I should be the same, like I should be like her. and work and clean and cook and do everything. And when I heard that, it wasn't something that I wanted to do, but I did it because, I wanted to please him. I was a people pleaser. I think I have a short on that topic here on YouTube about people pleasing. You can go and watch it. So, the second one, leaving for scraps of approval. The smallest compliment from Philip feels like a victory to Isabel. She's trained to crave his validation. And when he finally looks at her with pleasure, it becomes the emotional highlight of her day. And that's not love, it's conditioning. Let me check if someone left any comments. Keep up and say, oh, hello, G Place. Let me check the comments. It's sunny in Ireland, just back from nice walk, but cold. Oh, here in Tenerife, it's cold and rainy, and I'm wearing a warm sweater. Thank you, G Place. Thank you so much for your support. Why do you seem to attract crazy guys? I'm not attracting crazy guys. I was choosing them. Luckily, I am. I went into therapy, and I don't do this anymore. I'm working on myself. All right, so the third point that I noticed in that letter, no, not it wasn't letter, but in that thoughts of Isabel to about Philip, that romantic moment in the forest. Was it a romantic moment or was it an emotional dependency? She was absolutely emotionally dependent on him. The scene in the forest sounds peaceful and intimate, but the emotional dynamic is imbalanced. She's constantly working to gain his approval. It's a classic example of someone chasing affection from a partner who remains emotionally guarded, unfortunately. So, the psychology behind this is that this is people pleasing, as I said before, fear of abandonment. It can also signal anxious attachment. Isabel was an action attachment. She had an anxious attachment style. She was trying to earn love by becoming whatever the other person wants. And over time, it can lead to emotional burnout, low self esteem, and resentment, unfortunately. Now let's think about you. Have you ever tried to change someone or to change yourself to earn someone's love? Did you measure your love, your worth through someone else's approval? Mm, this passage that I read about Isabel can show us how painful and lonely a person can be, even being in relationship, even being married, even in moments that seem romantic and peaceful. Okay. Hmm. By the way, if you can put a like on that stream, that would be awesome too. If you don't want to talk, please leave a like on the stream. That would be beautiful. Then we see Philip's letter to Isabel. As I said, even if this book was written almost 100 years old, 100 years, yeah, 100 years way back, still, like the behavior of these people doesn't really differ from the behavior of people nowadays. So let's get back to Philip's letter to Isabel. This is what he wrote to his second wife. What do I like about you? You, yourself. What do I dislike? Also you, in a way. It might be more accurate to place the same traits in both columns. There are things that I love in you that I would dislike in another woman. For example, I like your black eyes, long lashes, the curve of your neck and shoulders, your figure. I dislike the slight, awkward sharpness in your movements, as if you're always bracing for mischief. I like your mix of courage and gentleness, boldness and modesty, purity and passion. You have something heroic in you, buried beneath a certain helplessness in daily matters. I admire your youthful qualities, your sportswear, sincerity, neat notebooks, humility, and sense of order. But I also dislike your refusal to see life as it is, your sentimentalism, your harshness toward other people's flaws, your idealism from illustrated Anglo-Saxon magazines, and the older lady traits, frilly dresses, over-decorated hats, prudence with money and emotions, your caution, your lack of pride or spontaneity. Still, I must say it again, what I like is you. Even the things I dislike come from you, so they are part of you. And I love the long, sweet dream of I fall into when I think of you. Then the Isabel's reaction comes. She was saying, this letter made me reflect. I remembered how often Philip looked at me critically. He attached meaning to my words, to my dresses, my hats, every detail of how I presented myself. It hurt. It felt like he was always measuring me, but I only wanted to please him. So I tried to become the woman he seemed to want. I didn't succeed. And worst of all, I wasn't even sure what exactly he wanted. Ah, let me check the comments because I saw that you wrote something. Human behavior hasn't changed, just laws and technology has. That's true. It has happened to me, but not in my romantic relationship. It has happened to me in friendships and relationship with colleagues and classmates where I looked for validation. Ooh, interesting. Very interesting. See, I mean, these kind of patterns can be used in daily life, you in your family, with your friends, with your colleagues, with your boss, if you have any, with anyone. So this is why I thought that this book is really interesting to discuss because as you can see, there are so many interesting examples. So let's get back to psychological breakdown because that was really when I read this, I was like completely different relationships he had with his first wife and his with his second wife. So here we see idealization and devaluation in the same sentence. Philip literally puts the same traits in both like and dislike columns. That's incredibly confusing and emotionally destabilizing. It's an example of ambivalence as control. He says, I like you for who you are, but I dislike many things about you. Like, do you like me or not? Dude, like, just what do you mean? And then he adds, even though they are part of you. Well, if you like me the way I am, and if it's part of me, then just either you accept the person the way she is or not, or you're not with her anymore. But he's kind of saying that he likes and dislikes her, but he's still with her, like keeping her. This is not love. This is like fragmentation of the person. It makes Isabel question every part of herself. She doesn't understand what's right and what's wrong. And because the message constantly shifts, like the dude doesn't he doesn't understand what he likes, what he doesn't. I mean, he understands, but still, like he confuses her a lot. Then there is this silent judgment as tool of power. He looks at her critically, but silently. It's like a form of emotional control. He doesn't say what's wrong, as mentioned before, but she feels that something is wrong constantly. And this forces her into second guessing herself, as I mentioned before, and obsessing over every detail, like her outfit, tone of voice, her behavior. And she's trying to become someone she isn't. She, as far as I remember, she was even trying to buy the same dresses of as Adélia, the first wife, used to have. Like she was trying to copy her just to get it right in his eyes. And then there is again this emotional insecurity and people pleasing. She said, I only wanted to please him. Like she sacrifices her authenticity to gain his love, but it's never enough for him. She is chasing a moving target, and this breeds her low self-worth and emotional exhaustion. This is very common in relationship with narcissists and codependent dynamics, where one person molds themselves entirely to another. And also situations where approval becomes a form of addiction. Like you get addicted to trying to prove how good you are and to please people. And the next one, power flip from victim to a manipulator. Mm, Now, Philip, is trying to change his behavior and to act like Adelia once was behaving with him. If you watch the first part of my stream, you will see how Adélia, his first wife, treated Philip. And now he kind of starts acting like his first wife with his second wife. He's acting like Adelia, the woman that once confused and hurt him. Mm, I remember when I broke up with my last partner, with the ex-narcissist. I remember the therapist I had, she said, please don't get into next relationship very quickly, because even if you find a good person, you might start acting like your previous partner and act like a narcissist and have these traits because you're still recovering from the past relationships, and you might copy your previous partner and be abusive towards your new partner. So that's why I always say, when you break up with someone, take time and don't rush into next relationship. Better to go to therapy and realize what mistakes you have done, what mistakes your partner has made, and realize what you can do better in your next relationship. So this shows us unresolved pain that often turns into repetition. We become what once wounded us and pass it on. As I said, this happens when you're in relationship with a narcissist, and don't go to therapy, as I said, afterwards, but jump into the next relationship. As I said, you can hurt your next partner and be toxic with him. Now, question to you guys. Did you try to change yourself just to fit into someone's expectations, but still felt like you were failing? Do you recognize this pattern in any of your past relationships? And as I said before, and I will repeat myself, these amazing examples here make this book timeless. Because the dynamics are super real, and so many people live through them without realizing they're stuck in a cycle of emotional manipulations. Okay, let me check. Did you leave any comments? No, there are no comments. Okay, maybe later. All right, let's continue. We have like half left. And we at 25 minutes streaming. Woohoo! So, from Isabel's perspective, she was saying, the thing is, the people around me were never sentimental. You're Adelia and you, Philip, you both grew up in carefree families with parents who gave you full freedom. This is what she was writing to him. I expect love to be warm, gentle, the kind of emotional climate I never had from my family. My modesty, my lack of pride. How could I possibly be confident when I spent my whole childhood being told I was nothing but flaws, that I was hopefully mediocre? When Philip returned, I tried to explain all this to him, a whole passionate self defense speech. But he just smiled and was so affectionate that I forgot about his letter. The date of our wedding was set, and I felt incredibly happy. So let's get back to psychological analysis here. Number one, emotional conditioning from childhood. Here we see some parts of Isabel's childhood. As we all know, all our traumas, all our problems come from childhood. She gives us deep insight into her core wounds here. As we can see, she lacked warmth and validation in her childhood from her family. Her emotional needs were unmet, so now she seeks love as a source of comfort and healing. So she's kind of seeking this love and comfort from him, from her husband. I did that too, to be honest. So she adopted the belief that she's defective or ordinary. That became the foundation of her low self worth. This is a very common origin story for people who become people pleasers in relationships, as I said before in the beginning, settle for critical or emotionally distant partners, and feel they must constantly earn love. I think that she did try to earn love from her parents too. To be honest, I did that too. I was trying. Now I slowly learn to stop earning love from my parents because I will never earn it. So we can only, if you have the same pattern, if you're trying to earn love from your parents, from your anyone in your life, better to earn love and from yourself, to love yourself, to make your own life better and healthier and happier, and to love yourself. It's not about, I'm talking, it's not um about your ego. It's about self-respect. And because if you don't love yourself, no one's gonna love you. It's easy. Everybody says that, but that's how it works. So also we see here attachment trauma and desire for emotional safety. She says, I expect love to be warm, gentle, the kind of emotional climate I never had. Mm, this shows desire for secure attachment, a basic human need. We all need this. Even if people say, oh, I'm a lonely wolf, I can be by myself, I don't need anyone, we still need people around us from time to time. This is our basic human need. But here's the tragedy. Instead of finding a partner who can give her warmth, she's with someone who criticizes, analyzes, and confuses her. And it's Philip. She ends up repeating the emotional coldness of her childhood. Like she found someone someone cold, emotionally cold, to keep on repeating the same cycle from her childhood. And she's trying to fix it by being better or good enough. And that's how trauma repeats. And number three is dismissal of vulnerability. She gathers the courage to share this deeply vulnerable explanation with Philip. But what happens? He just smiled and was affectionate. This looks nice on the surface, but in reality, he doesn't acknowledge what she said. Like, she feels like he doesn't care at all. He soothes her without truly hearing her. He's avoiding uncomfortable truths, or she's avoiding uncomfortable truths. This is the way of keeping things pleasant on the surface and maintain control without going deeper. And number four, reinforcement of the cycle. Because he was kind and affectionate in that moment, she forgot about the letter, remember? And that's how cycles stay unbroken. One moment of affection erases all the hurt she got from him. And this leads to emotional dependency, as I said before. Because you hold on breadcrumbs of your loved ones. Like he gives her some breadcrumbs and she's like, oh, at least this. You know, a lot of ladies in post-Soviet Union countries, um, it changes now, but before, I think I was one of these kind of people. You you are so afraid of being alone or abandoned that you rather be with someone who doesn't love you or give you some breadcrumbs rather than staying single and without a partner. So you rather be with abuser, with someone who doesn't love you, who doesn't respect you, who cheats on you, but not alone, not single. And she ignores all the red flags, of course. And probably she was telling to herself, maybe I'm overreacting. And again, questions to you for reflection. If you ever been in such relationship, like me, for example, and been to therapy, do you think that your childhood shaped how much love you feel you deserve? Now, let me check the comments because I've seen someone leaving the comment. I think I have put burden of my expectations in other people, not explicitly, more like in what I imagine than person to be in my mind. So you want to say that you had an expectation of a person in your mind, and you were expecting this person to behave like you have imagined in your head, in your mind, and this person didn't behave like that. Yeah, well, I think I'm not sure if everyone does it, but I definitely did it before, and we forget that people are different and they think different, and we expect them to behave like we imagined in our head. And when they behave differently, we're like, what's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong with that person. It's just his or her way of behavior. You were expecting him or her to behave and say what's was in your imagination. But it doesn't mean that he or she will behave like that and say what you want him to say. And when we realize this, when we're always aware of this, that people are not people don't have to act and say what you want them to say. They have their own opinion. Um, I've noticed this in my mom's behavior. Sometimes she's like, "Oh, he said this and that," and I was like, "Yeah, well, he's right to say this. Don't expect him or her to say what's what you imagined in your head." She's like, "Yeah, I didn't think about that." See, some people don't even think about this, so no wonder. I forget about this too sometimes. So being having awareness is important. It's good that you can reflect and realize your patterns and your behavior. So there is always space to reflect and to think what you can do better in the future. So yeah, this letter, their communication shows early emotional neglect. That early emotional neglect can create adults who feel they have to justify their existence to be loved, and how emotionally unavailable partners often offer just enough warmth to keep you in the loop, but never true understanding. All right. Before we wrap up, I bookmarked some essays of André Maurois. I couldn't leave them out. They resonate with me very deeply, and I would love to discuss some. I think there are two short essays that we can discuss today. My therapist has tried to recognize the patterns from my childhood, but honestly, I couldn't see them. Hmm. Did you see them later? My last therapy session was in summer. I don't go to therapy every week. Now I have therapy once I need my therapist, like when I have something, a very difficult question I cannot, or several questions I cannot solve by myself, problems I cannot solve by myself. Then I call her. Like it can happen once in a half year, once in 6 months or 3 months, you know? And so last time we met, it was in summer, and I still think about this last session because there were things that she explained to me, and I was absolutely surprised. And yeah, it took me time to realize that she was right, and it opened my eyes. And now I think about this session almost every day because the things that we discussed, they like an echo, coming back to me almost every day. Maybe you will see the patterns from your childhood later. Sometimes all these reflections come later, and they come to you so unexpectedly. With me, it happened. I was washing the dishes, and then I was like, oh my God, wow, this is what my therapist meant a week ago. Yep. Okay, let's get back to the essays. I think I didn't translate the name of this one. Let me quickly translate the name of it. About the position of women in society. The essay is called About the Position of Women in the Society. More than a century ago, a highly gifted woman, Madame George Sand, bravely led the fight for women's emancipation. She was not interested in political equality of the sexes, since she did not consider it impossible or unwanted. What she demanded above all was equality in the realm of feelings. What did she mean by this? That a woman should not be forced to give herself without love. A woman should have the right to refuse. I assert, I believe that one must either love with one's whole being or live preserving one's chastity. In her opinion, the sin does not lie in a woman leaving a man she does not love for one she does, but in living with someone she does not love, even if he is her husband. Men did not recognize equality in the sphere of feelings. In love with women, One treats them like courtesans, wrote Sand. In married life, like servants, they are not loved. They're used for their services, and yet they're expected to obey the demand of absolute fidelity. Fidelity. Sorry. Why must a woman remain chaste when a man may allow himself to be unbridled, debauched, and immoral? The only answer could be that many women of that time were neither chaste nor faithful, but the justice lay elsewhere. These women were deemed criminal. Caught in adultery, they could face imprisonment. By cheating on her husband, she lost her honor, even in the eyes of her own children. Such inequality in the realm of feelings, thought Sand, made it difficult for a woman to achieve intelligent and delicate happiness, whether in free love or marriage. The right to divorce was virtually non existent, so it was very difficult for a woman to escape such subjugation. It is not that she did not have political views, she was a passionate Republican and socialist. But she did not demand for women the right to vote or to be elected. And on that point, as we see today, she was wrong. For it was precisely thanks to civil equality that women gradually achieved economic equality. Since women began to take part in voting, the deputies who needed their votes began to treat their aspirations and rights with greater respect. Yet in the realm of morals, little has changed, and today half of humanity lives as though in slavery. A vast number of women continue to believe that in order to survive, they must sell their bodies. Mm. I was very surprised that a man would talk about it because usually women write more about these things because, it's mostly women's problem. So I was really, really surprised about this. And I think the second one. Hmm. Yeah. And the second one, a woman and a profession. Oh, I think someone left a comment, no? I do some now. That's true. With me, it can come. With time, it can come. See? Yeah, that's true. That's true. I wish all the reflections come to you as soon as possible. But it's good that you are in therapy. It's amazing. I'm always for therapy because I'm thinking about coming back, but I don't really need it right now. I don't have so many questions. I think that the questions I have, I can still solve by myself. But yeah, as I said, if there is something that I cannot solve by myself, I will definitely call my therapist. Okay, the last essay, and we are done. Oh, 43 minutes today, well longer than the last time. A woman and a profession. Not so long ago, most women didn't know and often did not want to know any work beyond the home and care beyond that of children. Some indeed performed this or that kind of labor, yet they often worked in hard and unfair conditions, for in those days women were paid less than men for equal work. Even those who simply wished to be housewives could not remain separate from their husband's occupation. Their role was to encourage the husband, help him, or even obstruct. Today, the question of profession has special importance in family life because the majority of women are working. Life is more expensive, inherited fortunes are rare and small, needs grow. To live without a poor family, a second salary can help. The new order of things has brought new problems. Is it desirable for husband and wife to have the same profession? If yes, is it possible and should they work together? If no, how should their paths be aligned? Let us consider the oldest arrangement, now rare. In the family, only the husband works. What can help the wife give him? What help can the wife give him? In many cases, it is difficult to draw the line between her own duties and those of her spouse. The farmer's wife works alongside her husband. The small shopkeeper's wife is at once his seller and his window dresser and his accountant. If the shop, cafe, or hotel is attached to the home, the mistress constantly runs between children and customers. In his absence, she manages and governs sometimes better than he. Even if the husband's office or workshop is separate from the home, the wife's influence may be enormous. If she's friendly, she greatly assists her husband's good relations with bosses and colleagues. By freeing him from domestic care, she allows him to give all his attention to advancing up the ladder. On the contrary, if her nature is gloomy, if she tends to rashness or immodesty, she risks undermining the best opportunities of her husband. A wife or cheerful disposition is a support of her husband even in his hard hour. A dissatisfied wife is like a roof that constantly leaks. It irritates, but it doesn't protect. Especially in France, it is very important that the wife, except in cases of serious danger, does not play the role of a bridle. The French man, unlike other nations, lacks a strong taste for risk. Her advice will be more effective if she understands the problems he must face. In our time, young women are instructed in the basics of various sciences. They need this, on the one hand, to handle more and more domestic technology, and on the other, to understand better what their husband does. Nuclear physicist, neurosurgeon, or engineer at a power station. A wife's awareness in such matters strengthens the bond of marriage. Is it desirable that husband and wife have identical professions? As we said above, when it is farming, small commerce, or hotel keeping, it is almost inevitable. But there are more complex professions. Will a writer, doctor, civil servant, engineer, film director, or journalist want his wife to be colleague or assistant? I do not think so. Of course, you may imagine husband and wife work in the same field and in parallel. If one of them is inclined to envy, ambition, or simply to melancholy, then identical specialties may can become a major difficulty in their private life. If the wife is more talented or skillful, the husband very often feels, perhaps unconsciously, envious. This is unfair and absurd, but man has for so many centuries ruled the family that his dignity is injured when he is overtaken in his own field. I knew a married couple of actors who at first were wholly happy from mutual love. Over time, the wife became a fine actress. Directors entrusted her with lead roles. Meanwhile, the husband, a mediocre actor, could make no progress and felt deeply unhappy. The wife tried in every way to spare his pride, but the facts, alas, spoke clearly. In the end, their marriage broke down. Such a man, my dear. Well, yeah, it is so sometimes. That's true, unfortunately. If you ever been in such a situation, you can leave your comment. If you don't agree, you can also leave a comment and explain your point of view. It's really interesting to know what you think about this. But this is why I just decided to discuss this book because 1928, and it's still amazing. I mean, almost 100 years. passed by and nothing has changed. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I think we all, yeah, almost 1 hour in. If you enjoyed this format, let me know down in the comments. Um, I'm just starting streaming on YouTube, and I would love to do more of this. I think that the next time I will be streaming, it will be more about my previous experiences because I made 3 parts of my life story with my ex-partner, and I didn't finish this this story. There are 3 parts, but there are more things to talk about. So maybe next streams will be about my my previous story. We'll see. Of course, it takes a lot of time to prepare for the stream. So yeah, I don't stream daily on here. If you like, please put a big thumbs up for this video and share the video with someone you think might be useful to. If you like to read books, please find this book by André Maurois. Uh, you won't regret it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you want to support this channel, you can always support it by sending some money in Buy Me a Coffee or PayPal. The link is in the description of the channel and in the description of this video, of this stream. And yeah, because my channel is not monetized yet, any help is appreciated. Let me check the. Thanks for streaming. You're welcome anytime. I'm really happy that there were people watching this stream, and please, you're welcome anytime. Anyways, enjoy your weekend, guys, and I talk to you next time. Love you also so much, and see you next time. Bye bye.